There is a kind of war that does not begin with tanks or missiles, but inside people's minds. In Russia, that war began long before the first shot was fired in Ukraine. What shocks me most is not their propaganda, but how ordinary, peaceful people, teachers, neighbors, friends, began to crave destruction. People who once drew doves and flowers in school, who swore never again, now whisper, maybe this time. I'm Elvira Bary. I was born in the Soviet Union, in a country that worshipped victory but feared war more than death itself. And as I write my new novel about the war in Ukraine, The Snow Queen's Spring, I keep uncovering something darker. A kind of collective psychology that explains how an entire generation could turn toward war without realizing it. This is not just about Russia. It's about what happens when pain, fear, and humiliation are left to fester. When a nation stops looking outward and starts waging war inside itself. This is the war inside us. The generation that feared war. I was raised in the world haunted by World War II. Every child in the Soviet Union grew up with images of soldiers and destroyed cities. Our grandparents had survived something inhumane, and we were told, remember, so it never happens again. And yet, it did. When the invasion began, many people my age didn't run from war. They applauded it. These weren't monsters. They were my friends, my relatives. People who once told me, war is the worst thing that can happen. In the early days of the invasion, we screamed at each other on the phone, each trying to convince the other side. But no one listened. You could send them 10 videos from Bucha or Irpin, they wouldn't even open them. It's staged, they say. AI generated. And I refuse to watch their proof about Ukrainian Nazis because, in my view, they were the ones trapped in a world of lies, victims of propaganda who needed saving. After a while, I stopped arguing and started listening. I wanted to understand what was really going on inside their minds. There were many explanations. The instinct to rally around the flag, the feeling that motherland is in danger, even if that danger existed only inside the television, the fear of being out of step when everyone around you seems to be marching in unison, the fear of losing your job, your safety, your freedom, very real fears in the country where dissent can land you in prison. And Russian prisons are still miniature gulags. Decisions like this, what side to take, are rarely rational. They form subconsciously, shaped by personal circumstances and past experiences. We all want to protect ourselves and our loved ones. That's human. The fear of death, rejection, or imprisonment outweighs abstract moral ideas. Only heroes defy it. And how many of us truly want to be heroes? Look at Alexei Navalny. He tried, and we all know how that ended. In 2025, the same people who denied the killings in 2022 now refresh news sites every morning and smile when they see another doghouse or shed liberated. Social media is full of cheerful comments. We'd like to think they are bots, but they are not. They are real people rejoicing over other people's deaths, counting how many Ukrainians were killed yesterday and how many power stations were destroyed. They celebrate the idea that Ukrainian families might freeze in their apartments. They dream of Europe shivering without gas and of Washington reduced to radioactive dust. But what are they really celebrating? Not victory. And here is the most mind-blowing thing. The frustrated classes. Starting with the Crusaders, European civilization began to wage not just wars for land, but wars for narrative, wars to reshape the story of reality itself, to redefine who we are within it. And that's what this war became for many Russians. A desperate attempt to rewrite their place in the world. If we look closely at those who support the war, we can see several clear groups. First, there are the conformists, people who understand everything but don't want trouble. Everyone else supports it, so will I. A high-ranking bureaucrat adjusts just as easily as a pensioner in a small town. Some profit from the war, others suffer from it. But what unites them is the instinct to blend in. When the dominant narrative changes, they will switch sides just as easily. Second, there are the frustrated, the people deeply unhappy with their place in life and the lack of future they see. These are the retirees surviving on humiliating pensions, shut out of meaningful work because of rampant ageism. These are the women who crave agency and respect, who finally found an outlet through the war effort, organizing fundraisers, volunteering, teaching children patriotism, defending Russia online. And these are the men who feel emasculated by a society that measures worth by success, wealth, and charm, qualities few can realistically achieve. Russia is in the middle of a true male identity crisis. If you are a bus driver or security guard and your family life isn't great, war becomes your video game, your fantasy of being a real man, a soldier, a defender. From this environment comes the endless supply of mercenaries willing to fight for money and for the illusion of regained masculinity. And then there's nationalism, another form of frustration. It flares up whenever people feel unloved and unappreciated by the world. We are good people, they tell themselves, but everyone hates us because of Russophobia. But why should you care what strangers think of you? Here lies the real secret. When someone directs hatred toward those who have done nothing to them personally, that's misplaced aggression. Something in their own life has gone terribly wrong. They can't fix it, or don't see how, or are too afraid to try. Their subconscious knows they can't punish the real source of their pain, be it history, the system, the boss, or even themselves. So the anger spills out elsewhere. We've all felt this impulse, the urge to slam a door, smash a cup, or lash out at someone innocent. And when society offers you a convenient enemy, you cling to it, because that enemy saves you from collapse, from admitting your own helplessness. You fight, you hate, and for a moment, you feel alive again. This psychological mechanism has shaped countless wars and social disasters. After World War I, Germany suffered defeat, humiliation, and economic collapse. Millions of men returned home broken, physically and mentally. They could no longer fulfill their roles as protectors and providers. The true culprits of their suffering were unreachable. So their rage turned toward the Jews. The same thing happened in Soviet Russia. Life was unbearable. People were starving, imprisoned, exhausted. They couldn't fight the regime that oppressed them. So the aggression was redirected, first toward the intelligentsia, then toward anyone branded an enemy of the people. Mao's China followed the same pattern. Authoritarian systems create social injustice and then feed off the aggression that injustice produces. It's a pressure cooker of humiliation, fear, and resentment, and the steam always finds a scapegoat. Social frustration, especially among men, is one of the most dangerous forces in any society. Many women can still find self-worth in family life, but for men, social recognition is crucial. When it's denied, their self-image collapses, and someone must pay for that collapse. The courage to look inward. Every time I see a comment celebrating another airstrike, I want to ask, what joy does this bring you personally? Will your life improve when Kiev falls? Will your salary rise, your loneliness end, your country heal? But I don't ask, because they have no answers that wouldn't destroy them. It takes immense courage to face the truth, to admit that your hatred is only grief in disguise. And that courage is exactly what my new novel is about. My protagonist, Marika, a vice president at a major Moscow company whose job is to help the business evade Western sanctions, walks that same path, from denial through rage to recognition. For me, this project isn't just fiction. It's a journey into the darkest corners of human psychology, and a reminder that every war begins not on the battlefield, but in the mind. If you'd like to follow my discoveries as I write, subscribe to my newsletter. The link is in the description. When the book is ready, I'll send you a note personally. Thank you for watching. See you soon.